truth, which is, I think, why we describe God in the lesson that we look as the judge of our truth, because this is our truth that we face. We face each other up, we cancel each other out. You can remember, continue to live our lives in meaningful ways in large part because of this extraordinary legacy we want to know what can take away what's out of there. You'll follow you. Obviously, your blessings and answer the words that I meant following that you take hold of the ribbon or the clothing that we're ready to start to tear and then fall in just a bit more. So the lesson starts out by blessing Jesus' name. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Praise you, Lord, our God, the universe who is the one true judge, the holy body of the ribbon, and we will thank you for the front side. As we hear and see that tear which represents losses and God has given, God has taken, and we continue to praise. Any last questions or services? Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you, and thank you for being here, first of all. For those I have not yet met, I'm Rabbi David Englander. I'm also these days known as the new guy at Bethel. Together with my clergy partners, Rabbi Krupnik and Chazan Pomerantz-Boro, it is a very sad but also a truly great honor to help guide the service that's Marvin Backal would have expected, living as he did in connection to the values of his Jewish tradition, not the least of which were family, community, and dedicated service to so many. We will hear about all of that today from those who are privileged to know him for much longer than I was privileged to know him. I met Marvin twice, once at the Shiva for Gary Candlestein, a family connection that I know represents Barbara and Marvin's capacity for deep friendships that last for decades and for generations. And on Tuesday, this week, in the hospital, where he was, despite it being his last full day among us, very much himself, expressive and deeply connected to those around him. And because we were talking about the Backal tribe, there were lots of people gathered around him. For a moment, though, I want to tell you, it seemed like everyone except Marvin and Barbara kind of faded out as he looked at you and said, "I love you." And you said to him, "I love you." And he said to you, "Forever." And you said to him, "Forever." In our morning service, we describe God's love for us as an ahava rabbah, a great love. In our evening service, it is referred to as ahavat olam, an eternal love. Both describe the love all of you had for a beloved presence in your life. And it is love for him and for each other that will see you through these moments and these days following loss. Your Bethel community stands with you in sorrow and also in great gratitude. Our Chazan, Lisa Pomerantz-Boro, leads us in Psalm 23.
Mizmor LeDavid, 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 Mizm God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever.
With each passing hour, we come to realize how fragile this life truly is. With each passing day, though, we consider how blessed we really are. We stand in awe of the love of God which causes us to grow, and we wonder what we have done to deserve such graciousness in our lives. But in the end, our lives are but a passing breath, and all that will remain is a shadow of where we once stood. So we pray, dear God, teach us to number our days. Give us the wisdom to know what truly matters most. Help us to remember that integrity and honor are eternal. The decisions we make today shape our memories for the future. Those whom we have loved, now hidden from view, continue to guide our lives when our lives mirror theirs. When we have difficult decisions to make, we call on them. When we need love and support, they are with us still. For as long as we shall live, they will live too. They are forever a part of us as we remember them. Good people, it is with heavy hearts that we come together today to pay tribute to the memory of Marvin Backal. To have known Marvin Backal and to have studied his ways is to know how to do life right. Yesterday, Barbara, as we gathered together as a family, you could look around the room with great satisfaction at the big and loving family that the two of you created. You and Marvin left very little to chance. You knew because of the way that the two of you were raised what it means to live a life of goodness and virtue. And that's exactly what you and Marvin passed along to your three sons, and they in turn to the families that they themselves have made. All of that, and all of them are a tribute to the love that you and your husband shared each and every day. Marvin Backal was raised in Irvington, New Jersey, the only child of Jean and Morris. Marvin's dad and his uncle were in business together, B&B decorators, and they were so very close to one another. His parents instilled in their little prince a love of family and a commitment to hard work, two life lessons that Marvin Backal never forgot. He was close not only to his parents, but to their extended family, and perhaps because he was an only child, Marvin knew early on that he wanted to have a large and cohesive family, a family close to one another physically, and more importantly, emotionally. And that's exactly what happened. And we as a community are all the better for it. As all of us know, Marvin was gifted intellectually. He started college at Temple. His mother, as I understand it, was overjoyed that he was going to Temple, now knowing that he was going to a Jewish college. Why, that's what they call a temple. But Marvin transferred out of Temple and ultimately to Columbia University, where he graduated at the top of his class. He thought he was going to use his degree in pharmacy, but a friend encouraged him to take an exam for medical school, which of course he aced, and from that moment on, his trajectory was set. He went to Kansas City for medical school, but was destined to come back here for his internship, and it was a good thing that he was at Cherry Hill Hospital, because by coming back to Cherry Hill, he met his Bashir, the life partner that God intended for him. The two of you, Barbara, met on a blind date. Thank you, Cookie. And right away, you knew you were destined to be together. And I know, Barbara, that your brother Alan knew right away that he was going to get a big brother. And he did. And Alan, that's what the way you and Marvin thought about each other. And Lisa and your children and their families, all part of Marvin's closest family, there for one another. I hope that God comforts you with memories of all that you shared. Barbara, as Marvin always said, the day the two of you met was the day he realized there was no one else but you. And the two of you, from the very beginning, were inseparable. It was obvious you met and got engaged pretty quickly, and it wasn't too long before you were standing under the chuppah at the wing, surrounded by family and friends. I suspect some of them are here today. And you were united in marriage. Everybody knew you were the perfect pair. All you had to do was look at the two of you together, complementing each other. So very well, really savoring the time that you shared together. Yours is what true love truly looks like. With you by his side, Marvin went on to found his own practice in pediatrics. There was never any doubt why your husband was working so hard. It was to provide for you and the family that the two of you would soon have. And indeed, within short order, you were blessed with three amazing sons, Mark, Jeff, and David. All of you will speak in just a moment about your dad in ways only a son can. And nonetheless, last night, as I was listening to the three of you, there were certain things that were identical in everything you said. Each of you affirmed time and again that your parents had the perfect marriage, that it was the paradigm of what marriage should look like. All three of you know how truly blessed you were to be raised by a mom and dad, devoted to each other, and to the three of you. Your father, as I'm sure you'll speak about, worked incredibly long hours, sometimes getting back at 3 o'clock in the morning. But then he was at breakfast, saw you off, and went back to work again. And yet, in spite of the incredibly long hours, he was always, always there for the three of you. He never missed a game or a match or anything important in your lives. In fact, he made sure that your lives were full of memorable moments with him and with your mom. And he was a sports fan, but I suspect that one of the reasons why he made sure you went to the Eagles games together and Phillies games too was to make sure that you had memorable moments and sacred family occasions that were well thought out and planned, creating the kind of memories that you carry with you in your heart to this day. He took you to the hospital to make rounds with him, not so that you could appreciate what he did, although you did, but because you could spend more time with your dad, and he knew it. Your dad was so proud of all three of you, but more importantly, you were always so proud to call him your father, to say that you are the sons of Dr. Marvin Backal. He had a unique ability to bring out the best in other people, to make people smile. And most importantly, he did that for the three of you. He gave you the confidence to be your very best, to do your very best. And all three of you made him intensely proud each and every day. His love, his support, his wisdom, his guidance made you into the men you are today, so deeply respected by all who know and love you. Yesterday, Kathy and Susan and Nuke, we had spoke about how lucky each of you felt. And you all said the same thing. You were lucky to have married into this family. For he not only took you into his home, but into his heart. And all three of you were his daughters, plain and simple. And he called you that. And he made sure that everyone knew how important you were in his life. But he never had to doubt how important he was to all of you. The love and the care and the support that you gave to your father in love was and is second to none. I don't have to tell everyone here that. We all saw that with our own eyes. Being with you brought him supreme joy. And we all know Marvin Backal was a consummate physician. He loved being a doctor. He loved helping people through tough times. He was the kind of doctor who was there at your bedside even before you realized you needed him. Marvin took great delight in being a doctor, but I think the greatest title that he carried was that of Zadie. He was Zadie. And Lena will speak later, and with some of your cousins. But each of you know how treasured you were in the eyes of your Zadie. Jacob and Rachel and Hannah and Lena and Dara and Bailey and Daniel and Amy. You were the wind beneath his wings, the animating force that kept him carrying forward in spite of all his health challenges. As you said to me, he was always available. He would drop by and just drop everything to find out what was going on in your lives. Saturday mornings down the shore were your special time. And part of that experience, of course, was getting those Zadie kisses with a bristly beard. And he kissed you so hard, not only because he loved you, but to make you laugh. He always wanted to keep involved in your lives, and he made sure for all of you that there was quality time as well. And if there was somebody special in your life, he wanted to get to know them and he appreciated them for the happiness that you brought to his grandchildren. Alexa, he was so happy for you and Jake. He wanted with his whole heart, because he told me days ago to be at your wedding, and I know that his spirit will be felt under the chuppah when you were wed. And Jonah and Danielle and whoever's sitting on Rachel's arm over there. What? Cole. I know that you only got to know Zadie rather recently, but I love the way that you spoke yesterday about who he was, because it was obvious that you could feel his dedication to family, and you were lucky to have gotten to know him, because you can't understand his family without understanding and knowing the man who shaped it. I very much remember when I met Marvin and Barbara and the Backal boys so many years ago. It seems as a young rabbi, I looked out at the congregation, and like so many of you, I saw these 4 brown taluses like I had never seen before, walking into shul, all entering into the sanctuary at the same time and seated in one long row. At the time, I kind of thought that it was like a team jersey. And as others in the family began to wear them, it looked even more so. But lately I've come to understand those talisim in a different way. Because all of you were wearing the same talis as your father, as your Zadie. It was, and it is, as if he is wrapping his arms around you, that his hands are on your shoulders, and that he is drawing you close. I felt that closest now, as did Chazan Pomerantz-Boro and Rabbi Englander when we were at the hospital together. He said time and again, Barbara, how lucky he was to have spent his life with you. He said over and over how proud he was of his 3 sons, his 3 daughters, and all his grandchildren. He knew that you would look out for one another, take care of one another to the best of your abilities, and you will. His physical presence is no more, but his spiritual presence continues to guide you and will for the rest of your lives. And so we pray, Tehei Nishmato, Tzur B'Tzur Chaim, that this soul of Moshe ben Meir Shana be bound in the bond of eternal life, and his memory be a blessing in the hearts and homes of all who knew and loved him forever. Amen. As I mentioned, we're going to hear from family members, so Lena and any of your entourage.
Hi. I'm going to make this as short and meaningful as all of our phone calls with Zadie. Losing you at this age makes it so much harder because such a huge part of us will now be missing. I talk for myself and all 7 of my cousins. No words can express how lucky we are to have such an amazing man be part of every moment of our life. From grandparents' days at elementary schools to soccer games and wrestling matches and all the life civ class, you and Grandma were always there to support us. Yesterday we discussed our favorite memories, such as breakfast at the beach every weekend, being leashed children in Disney, catch-up phone calls, funny spam emails, and getting yelled at for touching the walls. You and Grandma were so family-oriented, and it reflects in all your sons. Thanks to you, they raised all their families close by, allowing all 8 of us to be really close and be each other's support system. Even though you aren't here in person, we know that you'll always be looking down on us. Thank you so much for being the best grandfather we can all have. We love you so much, and go Birds. And I'll pass along to Hannah.
I'm also short and sweet. Dear Marvin Backal, Dr. Backal, and most importantly, our Zadie, you passed away yesterday, but your memory will live on forever. The way you've imprinted this world will never be forgotten. You have given our family endless opportunities, experiences, and adventures. Between trips to Disney, cruises, and many trips with your grandchildren, we couldn't have asked for a better guide. You were loved by so many. You saved so many. You gave hope to so many, and you touched the hearts of so many. Because of how much you valued our family You pass it down through generations where it's being proven today by how close-knit the Backals are. Last night, our family of now 15 was able to get together from all over the United States to cherish what an amazing man you were. From your love story with Grandma to having your 3 amazing sons to continue the legacy onto 8 grandchildren, we are forever grateful for the memories and moments you have given us. You will be missed by all, but we can all rest easy today knowing that you are no longer in pain, can breathe on your own, and play golf high up in heaven. You are forever my angel and looking over me. I love you, Zadie. Rest in peace.
Thank you, ladies. That was beautiful. David, call them now.
Rabbi teed up what I'm going to say perfectly. So, some of you might recognize me a little bit more if I put on my team uniform. This is our Backal family tallis. It was presented to us, it was gifted to us when we were first called to the Torah as bar mitzvahs many years ago. One reason that we wrap ourselves in this tallis as we prepare to pray is to help us feel the presence of God. We feel the embracement of God. I have so many things to say about my father, such wonderful memories that I could speak all day. Many things that you have already heard from Rabbi Krupnik, and you'll hear from my brothers, such as how this was Dad's world. Feel free to ask me or tell me any thoughts you have from now going forward. But one of my strongest and reoccurring thoughts of Dad from when I was a young child through yesterday and going forward is of his hugs. I just can't stop thinking of being hugged by Dad. You might not believe this, but he was one powerful guy with one mighty hug. No matter the reason, whether I was scared, hurt, unhappy, or feeling like I was on top of the world, he would grab me and hug me so tight, and I would always feel the safest when I was inside of one of his hugs. He would grab me and he would say, "Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it." I should have said we, not I. I actually never knew what it meant when he said it. Not until I was 30 years old. 30 years, 2 months, and 2 days when I first held and hugged my son Daniel and then my daughter Amy. It wasn't until then that I learned that it meant that moment. I love it, I love it, I love it. That specific moment when you're in the midst of a hug, you can't get any closer to someone you love than that moment. I will forever be hugged and embraced by Dad and God together. I love you, Dad.
I hope I could get through this. If I can't, I have a backup bailing. So last night I wrote a whole bunch of funny, fun stories about Dad, and when I thought about it this morning, I put it all aside, and I really wanted to talk about his values, his family values, because all the stories that I had all came back to that. And I'm just going to put aside for one moment the number one love in his life. But I want to talk about how he supported us. He supported us with everything that we did. He was always there for us, whether it was sports, whether it was activities, education, our spouses, our kids, our family, whatever. He was always there for us. And he was always heard. And just to give you one simple example, the three of us wrestled. And when you're out on the wrestling mat, at least I can only speak for myself, when I was out on the wrestling mat, I heard nothing. All the noise, all the voices, all the cheering, nothing other than my coach giving me instructions and my father. Jeff, get him! Take him down! Jeff, turn him! I did hear one other thing from my mom. His arm! Watch out, his arm! But they were both always there for everything that we did. And then we started to grow as a family. I went to Israel for my final semester of college, and I met a nuke. And I spoke to my parents. I told them that I have a girl that I think I really love. And what did my dad do? He bought tickets for himself and my mom to fly to Israel to meet a nuke and embraced her like family. And I'm sorry. So I'll never forget the day that we told them that we were engaged. We got engaged up here, went down to Margate where my parents were, and told them on the beach. That's correct. And the first thing my dad did was just hug a nuke. And he was never a daughter-in-law. Immediately, everything about her was his daughter, other than biologically. And Kathy and Susan came into the picture, and the exact same thing. They're daughters. And that continues. Jacob is engaged. Alexa, I know that you're not married yet, but you were his granddaughter. You are his granddaughter. And, something else to be said that is really special that shows how he was. Cole, Danielle, Jonah, all came in from 3 different regions of the country. Not just to support us, not just to support Rachel, Bailey, Lena, because they all felt the same. They all felt as loved, as part of the family because of Dad, because of Zadie. And the same went for his parents or his in-laws. He did not have a mother-in-law. He did not have a father-in-law. He had 2 sets of parents. He did everything with Pop-Up Aaron, Grandma Florence, loved them just as his own parents, Grandma Jean, and Pop-Up Morris. And just quickly about him, the rabbi mentioned his work ethic. We all learned that from him. He worked his butt off and made a very good living because of that. And he gave us everything that we need. Did he give us all of our wants? No. We had to work for it. We were not spoiled. We were given what we needed, and we learned the ethics to work hard and do for ourselves. And that's how we grew up, and that's how all of these kids are growing up. And Mom, you did something unbelievably special 20 years ago. 20 years ago, my father had a massive heart attack, and my mom gave us 20 more years of my father. Like acting so quickly and getting the paramedics there, because of that, Mom, he was able to see the grandkids grow up. Their bar mitzvahs, an engagement, and he loved them so much. Thank you for that, Mom. We all thank you for that. Dad, we love you. We love you so much. Thank you.
a lot of pressure. Well, going last is tough. I might have said too much to the rabbi yesterday, but I'll try not to repeat too much that everybody else has to say. Marvin Backal, Moshe Ben Meyer Bishengo was something special to everyone who knew him. He was just something special. Through his career as a pediatrician, he saved hundreds of lives and treated thousands of children and families. He was the doctor. We're so thankful for the many years that we've had with him. His health issues, as Jeff said, go back decades. They always bounce back. God really gave him 9 lives, which I can only imagine was payback for all the good he did for others, which is what he gave back to God. During his career as one of the most successful pediatricians and the best doctor I've ever seen, he never missed an event, a game, a match, or anything that my brothers and I were ever in, or that my mom ever needed. All we really have on this earth is a limited amount of time, and that's the gift he always gave to us. I still don't understand how he did it, but I am trying to follow it. As you heard, in our home, many nights, the phone would ring. As a child, the phone would ring, 2, 3 a.m. The garage door would open. I heard it because my bedroom was right above the garage. And a couple hours later, hour or two later, you'd hear the garage door again. A few hours as you returned from the hospital. A few hours after that, you'd hear the garage door again as he left for work. And it was a full day of work. It was hard work. I know because he made me do it. And it wasn't easy. It included rounding at 3 hospitals. It included seeing patients in the same day in 2 offices. In between patients, if he had to go to emergency in the hospital, he did that. He came home from work, and somehow he had time to be at everything that we ever did. I mean, he would still coach our baseball team. He'd be the leader of our Cub Scouts. Came to every wrestling match. When I was in college, he came to my wrestling matches while doing these work things. There's no way in hell I would ever be a pediatrician. Those are the famous last words. As some of you know, our dad was an avid smoker. We always gave him a hard time about that and about quitting. When I was a freshman in high school, I thought I'll try wrestling. Can't be that hard, right? Well, I was good enough to beat out the other 701-pound kids on the team, but in my first match, the first 2 matches, I got pinned on both of them. My dad shows up at the gym. First person he taps on the shoulder, one of the other dads who knew about wrestling, he said, "Where are the ropes? You know, in the ring." And he was serious. Well, at aside, that dad that he tapped, he ended up saving his life at one of the same matches 2 years later. He resuscitated him and got him in the hospital. Yeah. And that was an amazing thing. I digress. So, after that match, we had a little heart-to-heart, and I guess we kept pushing about the smoking, and he said, "Listen, I don't know if wrestling's really your sport, but if you win 3 matches, I'll quit smoking." But that was a pretty safe bet on his side. The odds were pretty safe on his side. Well, I won the next 2 matches. He got kind of nervous. I smoked a heck of a lot more that next week. And when I won that 3rd match, they raised my arm in victory. He took a full pack of cigarettes, threw it at the mat, hit my feet. The ref, the coach, everyone. I didn't tell you that story. No one knew what to do. It's amazing. He was a private man, but he wasn't too proud to do silly things or funny things, and that was just one of them. I'll probably one of those stories. They definitely taught us the importance of having a good sense of humor. One time when I was little, real little, I was in kindergarten, and they were teaching us about plants. And remember, they give you a little seed, a little pot, some dirt, and then put the seed in the dirt and put it in the sunlight, and it was on the every day I talked to it, I watered it, I looked at it for about a month, I think, and I kept doing that, and nothing, not even a little sprout or spring, nothing. It didn't move, didn't talk back. But one Sunday morning, I come walking downstairs, as I did every morning, look to see what's there, and a huge flower, like blooming. Wow! So I ran upstairs. I wake up my parents, Mom and Dad, you gotta see this, look what happened. Only to find out that they were at a bar mitzvah the night before. After about 1,000 of those pranks, and also on my brothers, not just on me, it really taught us how important a sense of humor is. And we could tell stories for hours, but it wouldn't be fair to you, and it definitely wouldn't be fair to us. He, of course, loves his Eagles. Tonight's the beginning of another season, and we immediately going to miss him. From that family group text, it occurred before, during, after games. It occurred in the middle of the winter, in the middle of the summertime, whenever it happened. We always start with Go Birds, as you guys said. Watching Eagles together since we were born. I mean, it was unlike my grandfather and many others. He was fortunate. He lived long enough to see them win a Super Bowl, and it was a much-deserved victory shared by our family. So much so that we went back to Lincoln Financial Field, and we all got to hold the Lombardi Trophy. We showed up wearing tuxedos, as if we owned the team. People thought we were owning the team. Everybody else in a t-shirt, whatever they're wearing. We were the only ones in tuxedos. We just have that picture, and it's a wonderful memory. Dad, along with Mom, they had so many friends. As many of you are obviously here today. They would do, both of them, they would do anything for any one of them at any time, day or night. They never said no. I mean, they never said no to a friend in need. Of course, he was also an amazing uncle, cousin, son, brother, father, husband and father. Now, except to Uncle Alan, he didn't have a brother, so we did have to learn that through trial and error. And there were a lot of errors on the way, hence the wrestling. But Zadie was clearly his favorite role. He took the grandkids on trips, and you heard spend so much time at the beach, and made it to every one of their events. And that's 8 of them, and 8 times however many events they have. He showed up at those and still came to our events. Up until yesterday, he was still excited and planning on attending Jacob and Alexa's wedding next spring. All the grandchildren, thankfully, are left with unlimited memories of Dad. He was our guide on how to live life to its fullest, give it your best effort, help others, be kind, be generous with your money and with your time, to be a great son, father, husband, and how to be a Zadie. He showed me how to be a dedicated, caring pediatrician as well. Working with my father during his last 6 years of his career was an amazing experience. I came out of training knowing all the science that I needed to know to be a doctor. He taught me the art. There's nothing good in our lives that we don't owe to our father and to our mother. We know we'll hear many stories of the next days, weeks, years, and beyond. But the most important thing that Dad did for us was that he led by example, just how to be a good person. Dad, thank you. We love you. Rest peacefully.
I do want to add one thing, and I keep thinking about this over and over, and I just want to share with everybody that over the past several days, my dad laying in the hospital bed, I can't tell you how many times my mom and dad said, "I love you" to each other. And you felt the love in the room. And my dad asked me, and I'm sure he asked you guys probably several dozen times, "Please take care of Mom." And I promised him, and I'm sure Mark and David did the same thing, "Mom, I want you to know that Dad's one wish, his one wish that he had is that you're well taken care of. And that, Dad, we promise Mom will always be taken care of."
I originally was not going to speak, but I feel like I quote unquote owe it to him. Dad and I, over the past couple of months, bonded like I could never even have wished for. I took him many, many times to his appointments for his chemo and radiation. And beforehand I was told, when you drive him, he doesn't like it when you talk a lot. Most of you know me. So, okay. So, besides not being able to drive the speed limit, but having to go under the speed limit, I had to also be quiet. But I asked him questions, and he was always happy to share medical things, you name it. Once we went into Penn, it was always cold in there. He had his grumpy sweatshirt, his famous grumpy sweatshirt. I would drop him off, put him in a wheelchair, put his grumpy hoodie on, and his blanket. Changing him into his gown was a quick fix that I had to figure out, because once your clothes are off before the cold gown went on, getting the blanket on him, we got it down. I called him that, another quickie. Dad and Mom, when I came into the Backal family, I did not know what a loving family is. I never grew up like this. It was very easy to get used to this. And thanks to you, I was able to find love, be loved, and grow a loving family of my own. I was able to learn to say the words, "I love you," to others, which is what I did not grow up with. Dad, you were my mentor. I learned to become an Eagles fan going to the games with my face half silver, half green, with my bright green wig, and you looked at me like, okay, whatever you want to do. I'm like, go Eagles! You were my mentor. The love that I learned, I will continue on spreading, not in the family, but with my everyday life. That's where it came from Dad and Mom, the caring and the loving. Dad, you will always be my heart. I love you.
Thank you all so very much for sharing so deeply of your hearts. Family and friends and community are here to support you. And we will have the opportunity to gather at the Backal home with words of support and condolence and share memories of Marvin on Sunday afternoon, starting at 3 p.m. There will be an open house at David and Susan's home, 1025 Dell Drive, Sunday starting at 3, and there will be a Mincha and Ma'ariv service, a Shiva service that night, Sunday night at 6 p.m. Please rise now for the memorial prayers.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant it rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Marvin Philip Backal, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. Now let us say, Amen. Please remain standing. We can be seated for a few moments.
Will you pallbearers please step to the center aisle? And now I ask that we can rise once more, please.
רק בינך תביד ושלום ושים תירא כי אתה אדוני מעשי היום ספר עליך לא תענה לך רעה ונגלוי קבלך, כי לך מצמלך ושמך בברכך. הכפיים יסוד הפדיגו בברכך.
You may be seated.